No, he said he was going to.
Good evening. I'm calling to order the Concord Township Board of Trustees meeting for April 20th, 2022. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Dawson, can you please call roll?
Mr. McIntosh.
Present.
Mrs. Lucci.
Present. So next we have a presentation from the Lake County Stormwater, Nick Agins, I'm sorry, and Steve Hauser. Thank you so much for joining us. I know a lot of residents have asked a lot of questions and are looking forward to what you have to say to us today. So if you want to please come and...
Thanks everybody for inviting us. My name is Nick Agins. This is Steve Hauser. We are with the Lake County Stormwater Management Department. We're here today to talk about stormwater basins in our community. Okay, ready, Rick? Here's the first slide. Again, my name is Nick Agins, stormwater technician. Steve Hauser's our stormwater engineer. We're going to go ahead and get started. So to kind of get a full understanding picture of how the stormwater department came to be, I figured we'd start with the history of water quality briefly in the United States. In 1975, Congress passed the Clean Water Act. That was really the first environmental regulation that decided to look at point source pollution for water quality in our nation's rivers and lakes. You can see it's emphasized there by that picture on the right. That's been the poster child for the Clean Water Act. That's the 1969 fire in Coyote River. That's really what helped spurn the Clean Water Act. Fast forward to 1990, and phase one of the Clean Water Act brought forward the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System and MS4 permit. Those abbreviations are defined down at the bottom footnote. Basically, that was to cover medium and large communities, large cities, under those permit guidelines and compliance standards to try to reduce that elimination or eliminate that pollution. In 1999, phase two of the Clean Water Act came about, and that focused on urbanization, basically anything that wasn't a large MS4. Large schools, communities like Lake County, and in fact 20 of the 23 communities in Lake County were required to gain compliance from this phase 2 MS4 Clean Water Act amendment. 17 of those communities are in Lake County Stormwater Management Program, so they are co-permittees with the stormwater department's compliance on the commissioner's permit, and we help service their compliance needs from that phase 2. History of stormwater departments started in March 2003. This was in direct response to the small MS4 phase 2. And I know I'm throwing a lot of acronyms at everybody. It's the government, we like acronyms. And just refer to the footnotes down at the bottom, they are defined. I don't want to spend too much time going through it, it's a lot. But basically, this was a mandate from the OEPA/EPA to gain compliance for the MS4 permit. Lake County Commissioners has this permit. We really work towards compliance with that. We formed as a regional sewer district, essentially, under ORC 6117 and their subchapters. It's under the Sanitation Engineers Authority. That's really what gives us authority, gave the Commissioners authority to lay that out as a department. And in 2008, Stormwater Department's rules and regulations went into effect. So what does Lake County Stormwater Management do? Essentially, we are a regulatory agency in charge of the county's MS4 permit compliance program. You see listed below are 6 MCMs, and that stands for minimum control measures. Basically, these are milestones that you should be hitting during any MS4 compliance program. We are involved in at least 5 out of the 6 directly, And our program also affords the opportunity to assist our member communities, those 17 member communities, to perform regional stormwater improvement projects, as well as maintaining compliance under the small MS4. Today we're going to be focusing on MCM5, the post-construction stormwater management and development. Before we do that, I want to go through some terms that we're going to be discussing to bring everybody up to speed. Two terms that are commonly used interchangeably are detention and retention. They both do the same thing, they just do them in different ways. They both hold back water for a certain amount of time. Detention, if you remember in school, if you got in trouble and you got sent to after-school detention, you were not there forever. You were there temporarily.
Thank God.
So detention is a temporary pool of water. Those practices, stormwater practices that are dry detention, are dry basins. This is a traditional stormwater detention where there is no permanent pool of water. It provides no water quality treatment, so it's those depressions in the landscape where you think there should be water and there currently isn't, unless it has just rained. Dry extended detention is the same as a dry basin. No permanent pool of water, but this one does provide water quality treatment through a slow release of a volume of water over time, typically 24 to 48 hours. Conversely, retention uses a permanent pool of water, and we'll see a couple of examples of this as we go forward. A wet basin is a practice that is a wet retention basin. It is the same as a dry basin, but it holds a permanent pool of water. It also does not provide water quality treatment. A wet extended retention basin is the same as a wet basin, where it has a permanent pool of water, but this one provides water quality treatment through a slow release over time. Another term we will be talking about is an easement, and in terms of post-construction management, we're talking about an area of land that's been legally described and dedicated to an entity, either public or private, in order to provide access responsibilities or maintenance. Easements can be found on a map when we're talking about post-construction practices, or a plat. A plat is a legal description. In this case, our examples will be a residential subdivision. You can find these plats on the county auditor's website. Basically, it goes through and describes black and white where the boundaries of a subdivision are, common lands, center lines of roads, things like that. And a water quality orifice is a small low flow orifice in the outlet structure that passes the first flush of stormwater into a basin. These things can range anywhere from 3/4 of an inch, sometimes smaller, up into 2 inches, sometimes a little bit bigger depending on the design of the subdivision. And that is what kind of determines those wet and dry extended detention and retention basins, because that is what provides that low flow over time. Here's two examples in Concord Township of what we're talking about. On the left is a dry extended detention basin, and you can kind of see that thin ribbon of water within that yellow outline area. That's the low flow channel of a dry extended detention basin. The blue arrow shows the flow through that pond. You can see there's no permanent pool of water. The wet extended retention basin, this is actually where Tri-Point is. I don't know what UH calls it now, if it's still Tri-Point, but if you're driving down Girdle, that's the pond out front. I think it has a fountain. And that holds a permanent pool of water, but that also is a water quality treatment pond. So you can see the differences right there between detention and retention. Steve's now going to talk about this example of an outlet structure we typically see in residential subdivisions that provides water quality treatment, and that's the dry extended detention. Steve?
Yeah, thanks, Nick. So you guys have probably seen in subdivisions or on ponds those big concrete looking structures and wondering, hey, how does water get in there? How does it leave the site? So basically that concrete structure, those are a catch basin or an outlet structure. And those typically have holes or designed windows, things like that, that allows the water in to the outlet pipe at a controlled rate. So before a subdivision or a commercial building gets built, they'll usually look at how the site originally drains, and they'll be able to come up with some numbers and ways to quantify how quickly the water leaves. So then when the site gets developed, they'll basically design stormwater ponds to help mimic and replicate those flows, but with post-development. So the holes on there, on the diagram on the left, the bottom one is actually the water quality orifice. That's the water quality orifice that Nick was talking about. So subdivisions, commercial developments, those are required to treat a certain volume of water quality per the OEPA. And that is basically to treat the new impervious area that was installed and all the sediment pollutants, anything like that that comes now into the pond. So the next orifice up, typically that's the detention orifice. Sometimes they'll actually perform in tandem, but those regulate the discharge of the water from the site. So those are designed by an engineer and modeled, to basically help keep those flows, slow down those new flows, those increased flows from post-development, so they don't flood downstream neighbors or properties. So, and then usually at the rim, there's usually a grate. Sometimes you can pull those off, but high flow events, water will actually crest into there as well. So now we're gonna Nick mentioned Platts. We're gonna kind of take a look at Platt and how we reference these on a day-to-day basis when we get called from from residents, things like that. So this is a typical title page on a Platt. Example, Nature Preserve South. You'll see there's blue that's highlighted on the left, and then a little bit of yellow highlighted on the right. We'll kind of touch base a little bit more on that, but the plat basically goes through legal descriptions of certain areas that dedicate easements or areas to a specific party, and those highlight responsibilities. So this is usually like a page 2. This actually shows like the layout of subdivision. But on the left, you can kind of see there's some blue that has been outlined and then also some yellow. So the blue is actually a drainage easement to Concord Township, and that's actually over a storm sewer pipe that takes water from the roadway, and then it goes into that stormwater basin. It's actually the dry pond that Nick used in a previous example, and I'll show it to you on the next slide. But that kind of gives an idea that there's an easement that actually goes over that pipe to protect it, and also gives the township the right to repair it if there's any issues with it in the future, so roadway doesn't flood or water can continue to drain. Same way with the low flow profile, or the low flow drainage easement. The yellow is actually over the entire basin, and that's like a local service drainage easement. That's typically deeded to a HOA or a party to manage the overall basin. So here's a little bit more close-up. The yellow really highlights the local service drainage easement, and the blue goes over the drainage easement to township. And on the right, it's not perfectly overlaid with what's out there, but we tried to kind of drop in the GIS aerial over the pond so you can kind of get a reference on what the easement encompasses. So here's kind of close-up language on what was on the title page. Basically, the top goes over how the basin is dedicated to a party and gives certain responsibilities on maintaining the pond. It could be to dredge and excavate, basically re-swale, maintain vegetation, things like that. The blue one, the easement to Concord Township, that goes over similar language, talks about repairing and maintaining storm sewer pipe, any appurtenances that would affect the performance of that pipe and allowing it to function as best as it can. So Nick also brought up, where can you find plats? Anybody can log on to Lake County GIS site, basically type in the address of interest. You can click on the parcel and you'll have a pop-up window right there, and you'll be able to select the plat option, and it'll actually pop up the title page, and there'll be some options on the top left-hand corner on that page for people to select and go to. So with that, I'll give it back to Nick for inspection.
Okay, so when we get drainage complaints or we do routine inspections, the first thing we'll usually do is go to the plat and see where the basin is on the landscape and how it fits into any easements that may be recorded for that subdivision. If this is part of a routine inspection for compliance of the MS4 permit, that MCM number 5, we'll do a formal standardized fillable inspection sheet. This is an example of it here. This is based off of OEPA inspection guidelines. This is something we created using the typical inspection criteria for these stormwater basins. Each one is tailored to the type of practice we're looking at. And Once this is completed, we'll be looking for things like if the water quality orifice is installed, if emergency spillway is in, if everything is functioning, appurtenances are as they should be, any deficiencies get noted, and if there aren't any, either way, they get sent to the entity that is responsible for maintaining that basin. In the example that we just showed, that would go to the adjoining homeowners and also Concord Township because they are a party with a drainage easement in that basin. The frequency of inspections for these, I know that's a topic that we get asked quite a bit. It's actually not spelled out in the permit so much, but we take those recommendations from EPA. I think the recommendations are once per permit term. We typically inspect them more frequently than that. This is an inspection. These types of inspections we perform for our member communities to try to keep everybody moving towards the compliance. We like to work with, not against, HOAs, the townships and municipalities that may own these easements and be required to maintain them. We try to play the middleman kind of between the OEPA and those private entities. We're all trying to work towards a common goal of water quality. That's our last slide. If anybody has any questions, again, my name is Nick Agins. This is Steve Hauser. Our main phone line is there. Our main email is there. And we welcome anybody to reach out with any questions they have regarding this or anything else that we might have talked about. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And,
So I do have a quick question. So if residents are having some drainage issues, basically the first step is to call your office where you would look at the plat, do an investigation, and then sort of see again where the issue lies.
If it's within a subdivision, yeah, going the route of the plat is the first thing we look at. If it's an outlot or some sort of other drainage facility, you can call us, you can call the township. The township's gonna call us, and we're all gonna work together on it and make a site visit. It's a case-by-case thing.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you because we do have a lot of residents that have issues, and I know they call your department, and you guys are extremely helpful, and you do look for ways to make the situation the best possible, with the best possible solution. So thank you very much, and thank you very much for the information. You
You're
have more
welcome.
questions?
And likewise, it's a pleasure working with Tim and Andy, Tim Brown. Tim's picked up on the learning curve quite quickly when it comes to the stormwater stuff, and he's a great ally to have out there as a direct contact to the residents.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks. I've already been on site a couple times with Nick and Steve.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
We all have. It's fun.
you guys have helped out
Yeah.
a lot. I mean, we've got some residents that are happy about how things worked out based on their advice, and we're able to get it. Unfortunately, can't always help everybody, but the information's good regardless. And sometimes it's landowners' situation. But your department's been incredibly helpful. I enjoy working with you guys, and you're great.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you.
Yes.
You're welcome. And if the trustees ever have a work session and they want to go deeper into some of this stuff, we're more than happy to attend.
All right, we'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much. Thanks for
Thank you.
spending
Madam
the
Chair,
time with us.
I'm sorry. One of the things we're going to do is I'll ask Rick to do a pull-out video of just the stormwater presentation, and we'll put that on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So if somebody has questions, we can refer them there as well, just for a general overview.
That's wonderful. Great
Thank
idea. Thank you. All
you.
right, gentlemen, have a good
Thanks. Have a good
evening.
night, guys.
All right, so let's move to the approval of minutes.
Okay, Madam Chairman, would make a motion to approve the minutes from April 6, 2020 of the public hearings.
And I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I make a motion to approve the April 6, 2022 regular trustee minutes.
And I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. On to our elected official reports. Our fiscal officer, Mrs. Dawson.
Thank you, Mrs. Lucci. I have no report this evening.
Okay, thank you. So we will move to trustees. Mr. McIntosh.
Been somewhat busy. We've had a couple of, we had the Easter egg
Yes.
hunt, which, quite surprising, as chilly and muddy and wet and cold as it was extremely well attended. I did not see that coming. Had a chance to speak with the garden club last week and did we did the rededication ceremony earlier this week when we had some folks that went around and saw the historical markers in the township. Deb Esker and Dan Maxon did a great job with that, taking people around. So got to welcome a few folks and talk about the bicentennial and some of the importance of our community. Taking a lot of questions about some zoning matters. We've had some hearings and BZA hearings and zoning commission hearings and some pending matters that seem to be taking a lot of time. We're talking to a lot of residents. Great to hear from the Stormwater guys. Like I said, they do an excellent job. I've been out with them. That picture that Nick put up makes me want to drink a Burning Umber Pale Ale. I was just struck now. I feel like I need to have one after the meeting today. But and I did actually have a question in the last week or two with somebody about water and did turn them over to their HOA and referred them to Stormwater. So that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you. Yeah, I would like to thank Mr. Dondorfer, actually, who kind of helped facilitate reaching out to Lake County Stormwater to have them come in. So thank you, Carl, for getting that going. So as far as my report, yes, it was great having the Easter egg hunt with the ton of kids and people, and it was very cold, but it doesn't matter. People were still out. It's a great year. It's our bicentennial. Everybody's happy that spring will be coming soon. So that was a great event. I did have some conversations with residents regarding some recent zoning that are issues that we will be looking at. Someone reached out about some potential zoning decision on Capitol Parkway. The Garden Club meeting was great. Those ladies have been around for 61 years, and they're so dedicated to what they do. So we just wanted to go and thank them, and it was a very nice meeting with them. We wish them luck at their May 7th bake sale and plant sale, which they didn't have the last couple years. So hopefully they get a good turnout for that. I wanted to say thank you to the Lake County Visitors Bureau for their grant and our matching grant from the commissioners towards our Community Day events this year. So thank you to them. We look forward to Arbor Day next week. And I hope everybody has a great weekend. Enjoy the warm weather, because then it's going to get cold again next week. But we are in Cleveland. So let's move on to our department reports. Mr. Rose, Administration.
Thank you, Mrs. Lucci, members of the board, Mrs. Dawson, members of the audience. I'd like to start with a couple of the items that are on the agenda. Item B is a vote to approve the service department's summer hours schedule. This is an annual occurrence every May, and the crews shift to a 4-10 work week. It maximizes their efficiency, especially when they're pouring concrete on with the longer day. There is still personnel that man the service department on the opposite day. Items C through F are votes to bring back our summer help for the service department. We are fortunate this year that all four from last year are returning for another year. That's a good sign. I'd like to thank the fiscal officer. She and I finished the annual state and local fiscal recovery fund reporting to the U.S. Treasury today. That was so much fun. This is the report that is due by the end of the month for all communities that received ARPA / state local fiscal recovery funds. Also a shout out goes to Melissa Hopper for getting us updated in the reporting system. Reminder from the service department, the road projects have begun. Currently the contractor's out making curb cuts in some selected areas. Milling should begin next week. And as a reminder, the affected streets are Bryan, David, Stonewick Drive, and Nature View Court for asphalt work, Breezewood, Conley, Clear Lake, and Ridgewater for chip and seal. And just another reminder for motorists, please slow down when you see the crews out there working on the roads. Our annual Arbor Day ceremony will be next Friday, April 29th at 10:30 here on the grounds of Town Hall. And finally, Rick, if you could bring my picture up for this meeting. Our bicentennial picture for today, for this meeting, is the photo of the marker that is actually right in front of Town Hall. It was placed here to recognize the centennial of when land was deeded to the township trustees for Town Hall by Daniel Coit. It signifies the 100th anniversary of this. And so I thought that was an appropriate picture since we just had our historical monument rededication yesterday that Mr. McIntosh was a part of. Excuse me. And that also coincided with the anniversary of the Battle of Lexington and Concord, which were named after the Concord battle. So I thought that was a neat picture, and it's right outside our town hall door. And that concludes my report. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Rose, and I do like the pictures each meeting. That's a nice touch. So moving on to audience portion. Anybody in the audience that would like to speak? Seeing none, we will move on to old business. There is none listed, so we'll move on to new business.
All right. Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve Resolution 2022-11 for permanent appropriations.
And I second. Any discussion?
Yes, I was able to rewrite our permanent appropriations after we received our real estate taxes. Probably about $500,000 more based upon actual receipted money coming in. So that's why we're doing this. These are supplemental appropriations, and we're rewriting them. For the rest of the year, you'll probably see another rewrite come July or August. So that's what this is. The total dollar amount is $25,238,750. So versus $24,000,000, I think 300. No, a little more than that. It's about $24,500,000. So.
All right, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Mrs. Lucci.
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Dawson.
All right, and I move to approve Service Department summer hours, 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. beginning on May 9th, 2022, ending on September 9th, 2022.
And I second. All in favor?
Aye. I move to hire returning Service Department seasonal employee Aiden Sweeney at $12 an hour effective May 9th, 2022, pending completion of paperwork.
And I second. All in favor? Aye.
I move to approve returning Service Department seasonal employee Brendan Sweeney at $14 an hour effective on May 9th, 2022, pending completion of paperwork.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Move to approve returning Service Department seasonal employee Caleb Davis at $12 per hour effective June 6th, 2022, pending completion of the paperwork.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Move to approve returning Service Department seasonal employee Brandon Thomas at $12 per hour effective May 16th, 2022, pending completion of paperwork.
I second. All in favor? Aye.
Move to approve Recreation Department PO to Pure Excellence Painting in the amount of $8,703.98 for interior painting of the Concord Community Center, including the Ellison Room, Kellogg Room, front lobby entrance, and side hallway.
And I second. Any discussion?
Much needed.
Much needed.
I agree. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Move to approve Fire Department of promotion of part-time probationary firefighter EMT Basic Anthony Iliano to part-time regular firefighter EMT Basic effective April 10th, 2022.
And I second. All in favor?
Aye. Move to approve the purchase order to Stryker Medical in the amount of Fire Department PO in the amount of $10,183 for annual service agreement for heart monitors, Lucas devices, and AEDs.
And I second. Any discussion here?
That, Madam Chair, is an annual contract, and they inspect all of our life-saving equipment to make sure that it's properly calibrated every year. It's well worth the money to make sure that that stuff is tip-top and spot on, so that there's no issues when they're out there and having to put those devices in play.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Move to approve the final development plan for the Village of Candlewood Farm Phase 1 Residential Conservation Development.
And I second. Any discussion?
This is phase 1, which strictly comprises a little bit of the open space and then the model home that's being built. I guess it'd be at the top of the development where Who's and the new road's gonna cut in. It's just for the one house and some open space. Recommend approval.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to future meetings and announcements. Mrs. Dawson, would you like to read those?
Yes, Mrs. Luciani.
Oh, we did that at the last meeting.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I needed a point of clarification.
Okay.
Okay, April 29th at 9 a.m., next Friday, we'll have our staff meeting here at Town Hall. At 10:30 a.m. the same day, April 29th, the Arbor Day ceremony will be here at Town Hall campus, just in between here and the fire station, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Rose? Okay.
Right.
On May 3rd, I believe that's a Tuesday at 7 p.m., zoning commission meeting will be meeting here at Town Hall. And on May 4th, 6:30 to 7:30, trustee office hours here in the conference room. At 7:30 p.m., trustee meeting here at Town Hall.
All right. This concludes our meeting for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.